impressive, seeing all the waves and the current. I was concerned about the houses behind me because you could see the water getting close to them.
The trees act like battering rams against the houses and the garage doors that are along the street here.
California experiencing dangerous surf, life-threatening rip currents and flooding up and down the coast. These massive waves leading to evacuation warnings and surf advisories in coastal communities. Good evening. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Christian Cafton. In Los Angeles, the National Weather Service says their area was seeing waves as high as 15 feet, leading to possible flooding and beach erosion. And in the Bay Area, even higher waves were hitting west-facing beaches. Meteorologist Roberta Gonzalez joining us now with a look at that wet, windy weather rolling on shore. And boy, it was a big one.
It is quite a day around the state of California and well into the Pacific Northwest as well. We had an area of low pressure just bang up against the coastline yesterday with a lot of power, a lot of energy. Winds in Northern California up to 60 miles per hour. Rain was over 2 to 3 inches. But the big story now is in its wake. It generated so much energy out over the open waters. And with this approaching system here, we have a high surf warning in effect for the entire coastline of the state of California. Now, for Northern California, it expires tomorrow. But in Southern California, primarily from Santa Barbara all the way to San Diego, that high surf warning is in effect until Monday, with your surf anywhere from 8 feet to 13 feet. Behind the incoming system, we have another one that will yet affect Northern and Southern California by midweek next week. So here we go. First things first, rain showers at this hour and into the evening hours and throughout the Pacific Northwest and also around that northwestern quadrant of the state of California. Bay Area had a little bit of, I like to refer to it as backwash from yesterday's system, only up to about 4/100ths of an inch of precipitation. And we had cloud sun mix across Southern California, lots of clear skies across Arizona and in Utah. Meanwhile, we do have a wind advisory in place for this highlighted area, which again encompasses all of Northern California, all the way to Monterey Bay and Carmel. And that's a southerly wind that will kick up to 30 miles per hour, occasionally a gust of wind to 60. Now let's talk about the mountainous areas because Lake Tahoe has been void of any kind of snow due to the very mild temperatures. But by Saturday, the temperatures will drop, the snow level will drop as well. Now we're talking about 6 inches of snow above 7,500 feet down to the lake level at 6,250 feet. We're going to have a little bit of a dusting to 2 inches of snow on Saturday. But again, above that, half a foot of snow, but it's going to be blowing snow with gusty winds up to 60 and 70 miles per hour. Winter weather advisory in place. Now, the Pacific Northwest, we're talking about Mount Hood. You will see significant snow showers. And meanwhile, the snow level drops down to 5,000 feet around Buck Mountain in Oregon. As far as California snow is concerned, really not going to see it except for the greater Lake Tahoe area. Mammoth, you'll get your fair share as well. But as far as precipitation totals are concerned, over 3/10 of an inch of rain anticipated in Medford, Oregon. This is through Sunday. Crescent City on that northwestern corner of the state of California with over an inch. Here are your rainfall totals. If you are in Orange County, you will pick up just about 3/10 of an inch of precipitation, over 1/4 of an inch. Otherwise, Los Angeles over 3/10, and San Francisco, I would tag on about 2/10 of an inch of rain on top of this total by the time all is said and done. But an inch of rain is pretty healthy. Now, as far as tonight leading into your Friday is concerned, you will notice the clouds increasing in areas like Fontana, backing through Hemet, all the way into the Mojave Desert. Your West Coast forecast, we're talking about rain out on Friday and then ending on Saturday in Seattle. It's a washout Friday and Saturday in throughout the Bay Area. Los Angeles, you'll get your turn on Saturday, and bright sunshine as we wrap up 2023 in throughout portions of Denver all the way to Phoenix, Arizona. Have a good evening.
All right, Roberta, a lot to keep track of and more to come. Thank you so much. The rising tides that we're seeing along the coast have led to several communities issuing evacuation orders. This morning, officials just north of San Francisco issued evacuation orders to low-lying neighborhoods near the community of Stinson Beach. Those orders have since been lifted, but as Crystal Bailey reports, the effects of the storm surge remain clearly visible.
10-foot waves crashing against the coast of West Marin today, a result of the storm on Wednesday. This drone footage, shared by David Golubev, shows the swell hitting the beach just after 11 in the morning. The tide coming up to the houses and buildings on the shoreline.
I saw it was high tide, and I heard the water, so I kind of came out to see how far the water came up.
Stinson Beach emergency officials issuing an evacuation order for parts of the city, telling the community to leave the low-lying coastal areas immediately. The concern for officials was storm surge and high surf.
The community is really resilient, and they all came together to help sandbag and help each other out.
Stinson Beach Fire Chief Jesse Perry says no one should be in or near the water.
Would you get in today?
No.
And would you suggest anyone else?
No. I mean, from being around the water, working in the marine industry, you got to respect nature.
Officials say they knew it was coming and they were prepared. The last time they saw a swell like this was in January.
Definitely the highest tide I've seen so far. I mean, you could see it on the beach. It came up all the way to the top.
The tide came down by early afternoon, but officials expect more high tides as storms continue to roll in this winter. They asked the community to follow Alert Marin notifications.
Be respectful of the ocean because sometimes it gets angry. Give it some time to cool off.
Officials are still clearing debris and also assessing damage. At last count, only one person had a minor injury and a handful of homes had minor structural damage. In Stinson Beach, Crystal Bailey, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Well, south of the Bay Area, waves are crashing over walls and flooding streets across Santa Cruz County. Roads are now littered with large pieces of driftwood that got washed ashore, as well as massive trees, which locals say act as battering rams up against houses and garages. Authorities issued evacuation warnings along the coastline, but say they're most worried about tourists in the area.
We do have visitors from out of town that may not have been expecting this kind of tidal surge during their visit. So we did have deputies out here very early, going door to door, explaining to people, hey, this is coming.
Public works crews are already out and in action trying to smooth out disturbed landscapes and remove the debris. Nearly 1 year ago, a winter storm took out piers and damaged property in the same area. Further south, a high surf warning is in effect at beaches in San Diego through the weekend. Waves crashing against piers and seawalls. Right now, surfers trying to take advantage of those large waves. They're having a difficult time with the rip currents.
I've been doing this over a decade. I know a lot of the lifeguards. I've rescued people here. So if you don't know what you're doing and it starts getting overhead like this, just stay out of the lineup. Just watch from the shore.
Lifeguards in the area say they've been busy. They say if you're not an expert at surfing or swimming, these are not the conditions to get out there. 2 Disneyland employees were hurt during a chemical spill overnight. The incident happened at around 2 this morning while the park was closed. Fire officials told the Orange County Register that a vapor cloud of chlorine and another cleaning agent caused breathing difficulties for 2 workers. One was treated at the park, the other taken to the hospital. Seattle Parks and Recreation has removed a community garden from Capitol Hill's Cal Anderson Park. It was planted in 2020 as part of the Black Lives Matter protests and holds sentimental value for many in the community. Parks and Rec said they dug it out and fenced off the area because of the vandalism, drug use, and unsafe conditions for park goers. Park officials also cleared out an encampment for the 76th time this year. Thousands have signed an online petition against the removal of the garden, calling it a safe space for people to remember Black people killed by police while providing access to green space.
I put a lot of work in that, and I've seen a lot of people come here and shed tears over the loss of a lot of people that were lost. Summer Taylor, I mean, that one kills me.
The bigger thing is this in the word community garden, right? So like anything that is community oriented or community centered, I think should stay.
Officials say they're working to relocate the garden somewhere else. Mayor Bruce Harrell says he's working with Seattle's Black community leaders to commemorate the garden with a better memorial. Human remains found in Arizona nearly 50 years ago have finally been identified. The Mojave County Sheriff's Office says the body found is that of Luis Alonso Paredes. His body was discovered in 1976 in the hiking area near Catherine's Landing north of Bullhead City. He'd been shot in the head. Paredes is originally from El Salvador, but may have been working in the Vegas area at the time of his death and may have ties to the Bay Area. Authorities hope this composite image of him will help them contact his family. The house where 4 University of Ohio students were murdered last year is no longer standing. It was demolished this morning. The demolition going forward despite some last-minute pleas by some of the victims' families to keep it standing. Fox News correspondent Christina Coleman has more from Moscow, Idaho.
A little more than a year after the gruesome massacre of 4 University of Idaho students, the house where the murders took place has been demolished. The early morning teardown did not draw large crowds. A makeshift memorial was created near the house where in November of last year, the 4 victims, Xana Kernodle, Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, and Ethan Chapin, were killed in brutal stabbings. The teardown comes a day after 2 of the victims' families released a statement making a final plea to leave the site standing until the trial of 29-year-old suspected killer Brian Koberger is complete, arguing the demolition would destroy critical evidence.
It's the crime scene. You know, you don't know what's going to need it or when it's going to be needed or if it's going to be needed at all.
However, university officials say the teardown is a step toward closure.
We've talked with students, we've talked with community members, and really everyone's at that next stage of healing.
And the Layton County prosecuting attorney says he does not anticipate that lead investigators will need the house any further. And some legal experts agree.
The house has been altered significantly. Walls have been removed, sheetrock, pieces of the floor. There's no longer furnishings, and of course, any evidence of blood or a struggle or the homicide specifically have been removed.
A trial date has not been set for this case yet, though prosecutors have filed a request recently to try and have this trial scheduled for next summer. Reporting in Moscow, Idaho, Christina Coleman, Fox News.
The business partner of YouTube mom Ruby Frankie has pleaded guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. Jody Hildebrandt testified against Frankie in a Utah courtroom Wednesday as part of her plea deal in the child abuse case. Hildebrandt and Frankie collaborated on the parenting advice videos Connections. The women were arrested in August after one of Frankie's children escaped their home and sought help from a neighbor who called police. Hildebrandt is expected to be sentenced in February. Frankie has also pleaded guilty.
I don't think it's so crazy to want to live in Portland and also not want to pay crazy amounts of money just to live here.
Utility customers in Portland will be seeing an increase on their bills next year. We'll tell you how much. And a reversal for the Colorado presidential primary. We'll tell you how former President Trump made it back on the ballot. California Assemblymember Vince Fong can now run to fill former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's congressional seat. Today, a Sacramento judge ruled Fong completed the filing process and is now qualified to appear on next year's California District 20 ballot. Earlier this month, Fong entered the race after filing paperwork to run for his current position again. The California Secretary of State said it was too late for him to take McCarthy's spot. The primary for this seat begins in March. The election takes place November 5th. In Colorado, former President Donald Trump will remain on the state's 2024 primary ballot. Colorado's Secretary of State making that announcement today. That move comes after the Colorado Supreme Court ruled 4-3 on December 19th that he could not receive the Republican nomination because he had unconstitutionally participated in an insurrection against the U.S. government on January 6th. The Colorado Republican Party has asked the Supreme Court to overturn the ruling from their state's high court, saying the party has been irreparably harmed by the decision to disqualify the former president. Staying in Colorado, Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert is switching districts in the state.
Today, I am announcing my candidacy for the 2024 Republican nomination to represent Colorado's 4th Congressional District in the United States House of Representatives. It's the right move for me personally, and it's the right decision for those who support our conservative movement. This is the right move for Colorado, for us.
Boebert currently represents the state's 3rd congressional district. Last year, she won a second term, beating her Democratic opponent by fewer than 600 votes. Boebert's move takes her out of a competitive race in 2024 and into the primary for Colorado's much more conservative 4th congressional district. Republican Ken Buck holds that seat and is retiring after 5 terms. A utility company is now being sued for damages after investigators determined its equipment started a deadly fire. In December of 2021, the Marshall Fire burned more than 6,000 acres and killed 2 people in Boulder County, Colorado. Last week, the Boulder County Board of Commissioners and Boulder Valley School District filed a lawsuit against Xcel Energy. The plaintiffs argue Xcel is responsible for injury and damages to the public, and that the company failed to maintain its equipment, ultimately leading to that fire. Xcel disputes that their equipment is to blame. The Federal Trade Commission is accusing Grand Canyon University of deceptive advertising and illegal telemarketing. The agency points to a Department of Education report claiming the Phoenix school misled students about how much its doctoral program costs. The FTC also accuses GCU of abusive telemarketing calls to boost enrollment, saying prospects were urged to submit information online and illegally contacted despite requesting to not be called. It also says the Christian University misrepresented itself as a nonprofit. Grand Canyon University issued a statement saying, quote, "Given the major problems that exist in higher education, it is baffling that the federal government has chosen to target a Christian university that is addressing those issues in very positive ways." Fentanyl and methamphetamine drove a record number of homeless deaths last year in Oregon's most populous county. Multnomah County officials released a report saying at least 315 homeless people died in 2022 in the county, home to Portland. More than half of those deaths were from drug overdoses. The latest data from federal officials also says more than 5,000 people are living on the county's streets. If you live in Portland, you'll be paying a few extra dollars on your energy bill in 2024. Portland General Electric is raising rates by 18% in the new year. Reporter Carrie Olson spoke with some residents who say this extra expense is making it harder to live in the city.
It just costs too much to live, costs too much to exist.
We met Brea Pratt in Northwest Portland, where she's lived for almost a year. She currently pays $1,500 for a studio, and electric bills add up.
But in the winter, it definitely cranks up. I paid $120 for my electric bill last month.
With PGE set to increase their rates by 18% for residential customers in the new year, Pratt says even a small increase would push her limits.
I can't even renew my lease at the point that I'm at right now. So, no, I couldn't be able to pay that. Some people might. $20 doesn't seem like a big deal for some people, but at the moment, I'm even struggling to eat.
PGE says the rate was determined by updated power supply costs, clean energy investments, and system upgrades.
I mean, it's not terrible. I'm not happy about it, but I don't think it affects our life that much.
Cedar Andre has lived in Northwest since May, and he says even though this increase won't have much of an impact on him, the rising costs of living will catch up to everyone.
It gets more and more expensive for me to exist in the same spot, and I'm not even doing anything. It feels really unsustainable. I don't think it's so crazy to want to live in Portland and also not want to pay crazy amounts of money just to live here.
The rate increase in 2022 was 8%, and this year it was nearly 9%. The 18% increase in 2024 means a nearly 35% increase in total since 2021. Those we spoke with tell us it's only adding to the strain of the already rising rents.
So everybody I know is struggling to pay their rent right now. Like everybody I know. There's rich people, poor people, all in between, unable to make payments on their houses.
The cost is very prohibitive for people just to have a life that they enjoy, even not just surviving.
Well, Portland will soon begin charging riders more to take the city's transit system beginning January 1st. TriMet fares will increase by 30 cents for an adult 2.5-hour ticket and Lyft single rides. 60 cents for an adult day pass, 15 cents for honored citizens and youth 2.5-hour tickets, and 30 cents for an honored citizen or youth day pass. TriMet says lower income riders will not be impacted.
We're all feeling the pain, so to speak, of higher costs. If you are on OHP, if you receive SNAP benefits, if your child is on free or reduced lunch, you qualify for reduced fare. And as I said, with our reduced honored citizen fare, the monthly cap stays at $28. You can ride unlimited.
More public transit news. New fare gates went into operation today at the San Francisco Bay Area's West Oakland BART station. Now, this is part of a field test for 3 door options aimed at reducing fare evasion. The gates are more than 7 feet tall and made with sturdy, transparent polycarbonate and metal mesh. The agency plans to finalize their design and then select the next 8 stations to get those new gates.
Field testing is going to be going on for at least several weeks here at West Oakland, and then we're going to roll it out system-wide, starting with the next 8 stations that are going to be announced at our January 11th board meeting.
The new gates are expected to be in place at all 50 BART stations by the end of 2025. Well, some Amazon Prime members getting an unexpected delivery will explain the gridiron gifts. And many hotel workers in Pasadena, California, plan to strike just before the Rose Parade. What their union is demanding as the city prepares for one of its largest annual events. Cooks, room attendants, and other workers at the Hilton Pasadena and Hyatt Place Pasadena hotels plan to walk off the job at dawn on New Year's Eve, just before the Rose Parade and Rose Bowl. Members of Unite Here Local 11 are asking for wage increases, quality, affordable health insurance, and humane workloads. The Hilton Pasadena issued a statement saying, quote, consistent service will be maintained and that negotiations continue. Clark County, Nevada reported a record $1.2 billion gaming win for the month of November. The county's Gaming Control Board reports this is largely due to the Formula One Las Vegas Grand Prix, which took place for the first time in Vegas the weekend before Thanksgiving. The county's success resulted in a statewide gaming win record number for November, with the second highest earning month of all time. Coveted live music venue Red Rocks Amphitheater in Colorado set an attendance record for its 2023 season. More than 1.65 million tickets were sold this year across the venue's concerts, films, and other events. That makes Red Rocks one of the busiest venues in the world, landing in the number 3 spot on Billboard's top 10 venues of 2023. The venue seats 5,000 to 10,000 people. Some of this year's big-name performances included Skrillex, Duran Duran, Sting, Janelle Monáe, and Zach Bryan, who actually invited San Francisco 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey onto the stage to play a piano solo. The college football playoffs begin New Year's Day. One of the 4 teams competing is the Washington Huskies, as the team prepares for the Sugar Bowl. Star quarterback Michael Penix Jr. found some time to surprise some lucky Amazon Prime customers.
How you doing? I'm quarterback Mike Penix. I'm here to give you the special delivery.
Yeah, as part of Amazon celebrating their billionth same-day package delivery, some Prime members around Seattle were able to walk away with signed footballs and board games. The winner of Monday's game between Texas and Washington will advance to the national championship January 8th in Houston. And that is it for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. You can stay up to date